With week 10 of the college football season in the books and the AP polls being released, it's got Mr. CeeLo once again scratching his head. Who's making these votes here? And I can tell you right now, it's got to be all SEC bias. Because when you look at these rankings, you got to ask yourself, how come this team went up so high and this team dropped so far?
Bruh.
Tonight, we answer this question on this edition of Gridiron Gab Triple Option. Welcome back, Gabbers. Thank you guys so much for joining us here on this edition of Gridiron Gab Triple Option. Of course, you're gabbing with the one and only Mr. CeeLo. Hope you guys are doing great out there. Hope all things are well with you. It is chilly, to say the least. And, here we are. It's November. Ain't no sense in complaining about it. I just don't like the call. I like it being around the 70s, and we've only had a couple of weeks when it was like that, and I'm just not happy about it. Guys, I like being able to get out and get my jog on, get the blood flowing a little bit, and unfortunately, I have not been able to do that, and it is not going well. But I hope you guys are doing well, and I got my buddy Brad, whom has now become... you guys already know he's my biggest supporter and whatnot. But let's see what Brad had to say from the last show. Let's go Irish.
Hey, shut up!
Heck yeah, brother. Let's go. What's going on with you, buddy? As always, I heard you were sick. I hope you're doing better, bud. Appreciate you giving me gab outs even though you've been sick. Pony Express roll on. Let's go Houston. Let's go Louisville. Always nice. Sometimes. Texas Tech is pissed off. Yeah, I agree with that. Lil brother Georgia Tech. Cincinnati Bearcat. Virginia. Oh, they got fortunate. Let's red on, Raiders. Look at the clock. It's not Saturday morning. Ain't no way Oklahoma beating Bama. You lost your mind. What the hell? Tennessee Volunteers. Texas Tech got this. Texas. Right on. Pony Express. USC Trojans. Memphis got it. Indy scared to join up. They can't win big games.
Stop the cap.
I beat you, right? And I did it resoundingly. Oh. Boilermakers sucks. Yeah, unfortunately. Virginia would travel well. We always travel well. You got to be funny, though. That's hey, I got you. Ain't no way Texas beating Vanderbilt. We need a drug test, yo. And they have no O-line talking about Texas. Texas is done. They suck. You know that black and white's a beast. You know that, right? One day you gonna learn to listen to me, Brad. One day. Yeah, Nebraska sucks and can't do it. I'm not gonna say they suck. They've just, they just a little bit. They're not leveled up. I mean, I think Matt Rule's done a pretty good job getting there. And of course, Dylan Raiola is pretty much done for the year. You hate to see a kid get hurt like that. So our prayers go out to him. But let us get into this, as Mr. CeeLo has had a big day on his other channel. And welcome to anybody from Talk Like a Champion over to my show here over at Gridiron Gab Triple Option, where I do my all access college football critique. And this is normally when I would do my week 10 critique of all the games. But this poll just got me so jacked up, man. I mean, I had to go ahead and do this because, needless to say, I'm sick of seeing the SEC bias. It's ridiculous. I mean, it really is. I mean, because you've got 3 to 4 teams that were overinflated. You're calling a South Carolina win a victory over South Carolina early, a top 15, top 20 victory. The same thing with Florida. It's ridiculous. Look, you can't have one good win against a team and then lose the rest of the season and say, "Oh, that's an impressive win." I mean, NC State just knocked off Georgia Tech. Look, NC State was a good football team. I mean, they had a high-powered offense. But let's not forget, this same Georgia Tech team that knocked off Duke, which had a high-powered offense. College football is designed for this. But that doesn't mean when you get a team that pulls one game out of the hind end, you're going to shoot them up the poles. But I'm going to get into that. Me and Brad, I'm not sure if Brad agrees with me on this. I still don't think Ohio State's the best team in the country. I'm going to throw, to me, if I had to select, in spite of what I've seen, I've got to go with A&M, because to me, A&M has really had some battles this year. They really have. Indiana had that one good win in Autzen. However, I'm still not. Now, Autzen's no easy place to win in, but I still would say I would put Indiana probably a couple of points below Texas A&M. But you see Indiana closing that gap for being number one. They got 11 first-place votes, and Ohio State still got 54, and A&M's got 1. And I'm imagining that was Mike Elko. But, from the press in College Station. So, with that being said, I ultimately would say that I don't see a win other than Texas on their schedule. And arguably, had Texas not played, and I'll be honest with you, if Sark had it over to do again, he would have thrown the ball more to, I think the guy's name is Livingston, the 6'5" wide receiver, because when he made that grab in the end zone that got him back in the game, I'd have been like, I'm wearing him out. And to me, the top 3 is jumbled. But that's neither here nor there. They should be there. Alabama 7-1. Georgia escaped Florida in the world's largest cocktail party. And then you've got Oregon. You got Ole Miss at number 7, and then you got BYU moving up 2 spots after Miami and Georgia Tech. After Vanderbilt and Georgia Tech fell. And then you look at Texas Tech and BYU taking off. Texas Tech moving up 4 places, jumping Miami and Notre Dame. Jumping into the top 10, being Texas Tech and BYU, which is interesting because these two go head-to-head in College Station. So, honestly, if, in my opinion, if BYU wins this game, they should jump Ole Miss, Oregon, Georgia, and Alabama. You heard me. Because you beat the number 9, 10, and look. Yeah. You walk into College Station and win that game. Yeah, you deserve that. Argue with me if you want. Notre Dame moves up 2 spots to go to 6-2. Oklahoma jumps 7 spots. Somebody, please help me understand this one. Please help me to understand, how is it that Oklahoma jumps 7 spots by beating an overrated Tennessee team? Because I'm going to be honest with you, Tennessee's was not the 14th ranked team based on that moment. Somebody argue with me on that one. Brad, please help me. Please argue with me and tell me how Tennessee was the 14th ranked team. And then here's the reality. You shoot Oklahoma even further up than Tennessee was. You shoot them over a Virginia team, and you shoot them over a Louisville team. SEC biased. SEC biased. And you're going to hear that more than once in this show, you guys. Virginia goes to 8-1, only moves up 8. Texas moves up 7 spots. SEC biased. How? I mean, you knocked off an overachieving Vanderbilt team. An overachieving Vanderbilt team at home. And then here's the thing. See, this is where I was listening to a lot of podcasters and they made the statement when the college football playoff comes out tomorrow. Which one's going to mean more? The fact that Texas was winning this game 34-10 to start the fourth quarter and they gave up 21 points, or the fact that, and this is 4 parts you got to think about. You know, Texas was up 34-10 going into the fourth quarter, and then do you factor in Vanderbilt's comeback? Then do you factor in, when you're talking about Vanderbilt, do you factor in the fact that they were down 34-10? And do you take into account that they roared back? I think you have to look at it as 34-10, because here's the reality. There were a lot of questionable calls in that game, and Josh Pate agrees with my perception on this. And I didn't say this on my Talk Like a Champion show, that I love Josh Pate. We disagree on some things, but I love the fact that he gives clarity in how he feels. There was some that you could argue that the Texas Longhorns secondary suspect. I'm not going to clearly say that, because I get it. Week 1, you watch that game against Ohio State. You know, there was a handful of opportunities that Julian Sand had. Now, a lot of people will say Sand will probably exploit that now, but woulda, coulda, shoulda. Maybe we'll see in the college football playoff. But ultimately, I don't agree with Texas being where they are. You don't just win at home and all of a sudden you jump 3 and 4 football teams that won. And no, that's just a big no-no. And then you look, and there's Louisville, who moves up 2 spaces. And then Vanderbilt only dropped 6 spots. After pretty much getting your tail toe up, and you just had with some help. Yeah, we can tell that there are a lot of the pollsters don't watch these games. Because I'm going to put it to you like this. Texas, if you're going to move Texas up, then that means Vanderbilt should have dropped more than 6 slots. Because that was a beatdown they took. I don't care what the score said. They took a beatdown. They just made it interesting because, one, they got some help from a certain group of people, because we know how the SEC officiating is. It's terrible. Then, to me, Texas was just trying to get out of here without losing certain guys. Now, I'm not saying they emptied the bench. But what I'm saying is Texas was basically, in a nutshell, let's run this thing, let's get out of here. Or it could have been they got a call from Greg Sankey and said, hey, don't whoop them up, so let them score. We want to keep them in the college football playoff. I'm not saying that's what happened, but that's extremely what it looks like. Because you don't dominate somebody for 3 quarters and all of a sudden, oh, where are you going? You give up 21 points and then you've only given up 10 all game. In 3 quarters. Come on, man. Then you see a Georgia Tech team that got beat on the road by an NC State team. And my thing, that loss wasn't nearly as bad as Vanderbilt's. Not one time did it seem like that Georgia Tech wasn't going to come back. Half the country turned it from that Vanderbilt-Texas game. That's what made it so bad. So there ain't no way you should be able to slide them down 6 and slide Texas up 7. Please help me how that works. Then you got, as I said, Georgia Tech fell 8. They shouldn't have fell that far, in my opinion. But Utah goes up 7. I could kind of see why you would put. But see, Utah's got a better fan base than teams like Georgia Tech and, of course, Miami. The ACC really does not have a lot of help. Even BYU, you could argue, in a sense, don't have nearly as many fans as the Utah Utes do. Those guys really have a fan base, but they did wallop Cincinnati 45-14. I mean, but the reality of it is, I don't expect anything less with that team in Salt Lake. They'll crush you. Don't play around with this team. And I would argue they should have been over Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt should have been under Tech. Tech should have been where, if you're going to do it that way. Texas should have been underneath them. And Utah should have been over Texas. That's right. I said it. I said it because they had the more impressive win day. That's how you beat somebody, a ranked team at home. Matter of fact, that's how you beat a team that's ranked higher than you. That one right there, 45-14. And guys, I will critique these games after I'm done with this one. I've got a lot to do. But then let's look further. You see Miami falls. They fell 8 slots after falling yet again in a game where you could argue SMU got some calls. And I mean, Brad picked Pony Express. Me personally, as I said, I thought Miami was going to snap out of it. But like I said, they got some help in this game. And unfortunately, they're really pulling for Miami to fall out of this thing. But they're down to 18. Then here you go again with Missouri. 19th. They're not the 19th best team in the country. They don't have a signature win, and they ain't really showed me nothing. But they stayed put at 19. See, USC should have went up 3. You heard me. Put Missouri and USC on the field. Show me. But they did lose their quarterback, so I'm pretty sure this is going to be a tumble for Missouri. And needless to say, you hate to see that. You want to see teams fall on their own accord, not based on certain players not being there. That's not what you want to have to see another team go through. But ultimately, you will be seeing Missouri fall out of this thing with their because they've got A&M this week. So A&M's got a chance to send a huge statement, even though the pollsters will understand this ain't gonna be the team you're looking for. But yeah, USC 6-2 goes up 3. The pollsters finally got it right, y'all. They put USC over Michigan. Thank you for finally getting it right. Yeah, Michigan is now 21 at 7-2. They stayed put. Memphis moves up 3 spots after their victory this weekend. And then you got Tennessee only falling 9 spots after getting beaten this weekend at home. So, yeah, we're in that situation yet again when you get an SEC team who, for all intents and purposes, keeps getting the benefit of the doubt. But people are always talking about wins. Like I said, the SEC gets a lot of overinflated wins, but nobody talks about that. Putting, OU back in this, but OU's probably going to be gone within the next 2 to 3 weeks out of the top 25 and even out of this college football playoff. I respect what they've done, but yeah. Finally, we get Washington back in here at 6-2, and then Cincinnati falls 7-2 to number 25 after that horrible beatdown that they just took. And I was listening to a lot of people talk about Iowa and Pittsburgh. You get no argument with me with Iowa. They're playing some good football. And even North Texas, the way they beat Navy. Now, a lot of people say, Navy, they've got a running back that will hit you in the mouth. Now, I get it. It is Navy. But they ran that ball straight down Navy's throat. And you don't do that in Navy. And I was impressed with the way this running back played. He's going to be a good player. But, also, Iowa's a team that is playing they're playing really good defense. And it's kind of like, what do they have to do to get some respect? And, then you've got Pittsburgh. They are just playing lights out since this new quarterback has stepped in. And I'm a firm believer this guy's going to be a star. And they've got some games that could possibly come up and could get the attention, including my Fighting Irish. They've got some games coming up that are really going to possibly put them on the map, and I'm hoping it's not going to be us that gets victimized by them. But Iowa's got a couple of games that could put them into the college football playoff. Like they've got Oregon this week. Now you're looking at a team that's 6-2 and could very well, and that game is in Iowa State. No, excuse me, it's in Ames. Not Ames, I'm sorry. Why did I say that? Iowa City. This is going to be a dangerous game. Folks, I'm going to tell you, this is going to be a game that I didn't think about looking at, but I'm going to watch. Because they've got Oregon this week, then they've got to go to the Coliseum, then they got Michigan State, and then they finish at Nebraska. Those 2 games would have meant something if Matt Rule. Those 3 games would have been huge for them if Matt Rule could have got Nebraska to a winning position. But this game against Oregon, I'm gonna be honest with you. If they beat Oregon this week, I'm not saying they should crack the top 10, but they should crack the top 15. The only reason they wouldn't crack the top 10 out of this, and everybody's going to say, oh, you can't do that when they just jumping in there. Oh, yeah. They would be the highest ranked 2-loss team, even jumping. Well, they wouldn't jump Notre Dame, and they wouldn't jump. They wouldn't jump Notre Dame, and they would not jump Texas. Because I see Oklahoma losing this week. I really do. I don't think Oklahoma's gonna win this week. I think this is gonna be a huge. This is gonna be a huge ask for this Oklahoma team. They've got a rough schedule. I'm not even gonna forego that. I'm sorry, they're off this week. My bad. I'm sorry. What am I talking about? Yeah, they get ready to go to Tuscaloosa, and then they finish up with Missouri and LSU. But when you sit back and you really start looking at the teams that could give this college football playoff clarity, you really have to look and see what teams have a lot to offer and what their schedule has to offer. And when you look at where Oklahoma is, when you look at where Texas is, even Virginia with that 1 loss, but they have a chance to play in the ACC title game right now. This is a situation that could clean itself up very well. But when you talk about Iowa and you look at what they could do to get back into the discussion as possibly being a team that could play in the ACC championship game, then you've got a bunch of 1-loss schools: Duke, SMU, Louisville, Pittsburgh, Georgia Tech, and then Virginia. And these are schools that you don't necessarily say are going to control their own destiny, but like Georgia Tech plays Pitt head-to-head, so you're going to have some clarity to that aspect of it and who's going to eliminate who. Now, as far as Virginia goes, I truly believe Duke could put a scare into them, because you're going to have these 2 teams eliminate each other. So it could very well be you could see Georgia Tech and Pittsburgh, but you could also, Georgia Tech and Virginia. But if Duke doesn't knock off Virginia, and then see Duke would own the tiebreaker, but then you still got SMU hanging around out there, and they really only have Louisville left on the schedule. They could knock them out. So you basically could end up with 3 teams. Virginia's going to have to procure another loss for any of these teams to have a chance to unseat them as going into the ACC title game. But it's going to be a fun down the stretch run. Now, Wake Forest can actually pull out the upset. If you look at it, Wake Forest has been pesky. People say, oh, they're bad, but don't let Wake Forest fool you. They just hanging around. But that's going to do it for us, you guys. Let me know in the comments what you guys thought about the AP polls this week, and tell me if you thought that the rankings were right. Tell me how you would make things different, and tell me what changes need to be made in the future as far as how they do the AP polls, because needless to say, there was a lot of favoritism being showed on this polls, and a lot of writers are not watching these games. They're just going by the scores, and they're automatically assuming that this game was closer than it was. Even myself and Josh Pate have said that. One of my favorite shows, if you guys like his content, like my content, you'll love his content. But make sure you leave your comment down below. Make sure you subscribe and click the bell notification so you can get all of my shows and critiques. I will have my critiques on week 10 out hopefully by late tomorrow or early Wednesday. Make sure you go by the Facebook page, Gridiron Gab Triple Option, as well as join the group, Gridiron Gab Triple Option, so you guys can give me ideas on what shows and topics you'd like to hear about. And finally, if you want to keep up with me off the set, make sure you hit me up at Mr. CeeLo on Instagram so you can keep up with all my shenanigans in-game and out-game that I will be caught up in. But until the next time, same Gab channel, same Gab platform.